Hi everyone, welcome. I've had some requests for access to the Magnus Archives main theme on Spotify and stuff, and there are plans to do that at long last. I will get around to it, but I thought in the meantime I could start doing some run-throughs, show people how I wrote the theme. Just take you through my Cubase project. And yeah, hopefully it'll be of interest to some of you. Let's have a look, shall we? So let's start by playing it. Let's have a quick listen for those that don't know it. And there you have it. So, well, there I am, bottom corner. Lovely. Where to start? This was actually my second podcast with Rusty Quill. First one being the gaming podcast. I'll probably do a run through of that as well at some point. So keep an eye out. But yeah, second one. So this was very different to the gaming podcast. Alex Newell, oldest friend of mine, approached me again to do this theme, and he wanted. I mean, he told me what it was. He told me it was essentially a horror podcast, kind of like the X-Files, I guess. Although listeners know more specific than that. And yeah, he wanted me to try and really kind of distill something of that in the first 30 seconds that everybody hears. And so that's kind of the idea behind these main themes. This one, I mean, you can hear there's a ton of very sort of typical horror elements in there. Let's just maybe go down from the top and just break it down a little bit. So we've got this tape track. So I knew from the brief from Alex that it had this archive format, this feeling of one chap, Johnny Sims, fabulous writer, fabulous voice actor, playing that character, and that it was all on kind of these recorded tapes. So I can't remember if this was a late edition or if it was a first thought. It's so long ago now, 5 years. But yeah, we decided to have that in there to immediately put you in that mood of have that kind of slightly scratchy, eerie, have the sound that the theme itself was actually recorded on tape. I think knowing 5 years later, I'd have probably done this slightly differently rather than just have a tape effect playing, because there are other methods for this. But there you go, I've got that. Now what have we got here? Folder of textures. Okay, so by the way, quick disclaimer, I did do this 5 years ago, and I've done a little bit of housekeeping, some nice colour coding that I like to do now, but this is very atypical for my usual organised template. Hopefully you'll get a chance to see that on another video, but yeah, this is a bit more haphazard than my usual. But here we've got a folder of textures. And so I've used a lot of like audio layering here, all to give this building sense of unease. I mean, it's all about that, basically. Let's just have a quick listen, maybe, to some of this. I'll start about here. It's not too loud, but there's something there. Weird string textures, and then we can start to build from around here. Yeah, so predominantly that's kind of aleatoric extended technique strings, giving these wild layered textures just to build the sense of foreboding, I suppose, and then ending there, with those 3 hits. And that was, I'm not going to pretend that I invented this. I mean, it's a very horror thing. It's that kind of slamming door effect, and when everything laid together, I guess we've got the viola, which we'll talk about in a minute, the solo instrument, being kind of us disappearing through this I don't know, doorway, and then so we've got this idea of the slamming door. They've gone, the door slams behind them, and it's all very scary. And so that's the reason for that. It isn't a sound effect. That is a sample of a technique called Leno Batuto, which is using the back of the bow to strike the instrument. So it gives a kind of musical, but this very kind of organic and wooden sound that I was after. And I think I layered that lower down with other things maybe as well. But that's textures. And I think I tried some stuff out. Yeah, I've got a maybes folder here, my maybes folder. This stuff didn't make the cut. I think this was just little experiments that I tried that weren't quite appropriate. So left them muted. And then we've got multis, which is kind of more of the same. It's more multis being multi-instrument layers within one patch. So it's very well. Let's have a listen. You've got various sounds going on. Bit of brass in here, I think. Yeah, so you can hear those low string sounds. All very dark, all very sinister, building up around here. So yeah, you get the idea. And yeah, it's odd that this is all audio for me. Normally I would just play that in with MIDI, but I think I wanted to kind of have a bit more malleability maybe with the sounds and layer them differently. So I obviously just bounce those and put them back in the project. Yeah, and now we come to the solo instrument, viola. I felt the need to record this. Obviously, I mean it's just so much better when you can get real players. They just add something. So I got a chap called Elliot Corner in, a friend of mine from college, who did a great job. And I really wanted viola, as opposed to something like a cello or even violin higher up, because there's something about that low viola sound that's really uneasy and kind of grainy, and I thought it would be perfect for this. That was, I think, the first thing I knew I wanted as soon as I spoke to Alex about the podcast. So yeah, that was right in there straight away. And I think if I play this, and I can probably show you the original MIDI as well. If I do this, there we go. I'll just play this so you can follow along the piano roll here as well. Yeah, so it kind of starts off as as perhaps uh, this unsure, cautious character, but with that real gritty darkness in the sound. And then when we raise it up to the higher register, it has more of a desperation to it, and that's what I wanted. That kind of being taken away or something, being dragged out the door, kicking and screaming, and it has that kind of almost a wailing quality to it at the very end. But Elliot did a great job there. I mean, you probably saw it didn't quite match up to the grid, and that was very deliberate. I wanted him to have freedom to just make it as expressive as possible, and having lots of portamento, sliding between notes to give her this kind of very slimy and unpleasant character to it at the beginning. And it's on top of that, I think it's also got almost like a seductive quality about it, which is accidentally, I think, goes very well with Johnny Sims's voice, because he's just got one of those voices, hasn't he, that lures you in. And I hope that the viola kind of does the similar job right from the off. And yeah, so I think I'd probably put some effects on that. Let's have a look, shall we? So just looking at this solo viola track, did I put anything on it? Yeah, so I've got a few things here just to make it sound a bit more. So I've got to put a bit of tape distortion on it. Very deliberately, again, just to bring it into that world of having been archived, this old tape recording. I wanted it to sound like that. I didn't want it to sound like this glossy classical viola sound. So yeah, that was a very deliberate decision there. So the rest of it, we got piccolo here. I think that's just to give that kind of screeching quality at the end. We can hear that if you like. So we've got a bit of a trill going on. I love doing that kind of tinnitus thing after you have a climactic hit. I love leaving that impression of ringing in the ears at the end. So I think that's what the pick's doing just at the end. But those trills, it's something that's kind of buried in the mix a little bit, but you'd miss if it wasn't there. It just gives even more unease and offers that spread of register as well. It gives us that higher range. Trombones, I think I put these in to double or to add to some of the layers we've already heard, just to give that kind of brassy bendiness. Let's hear that. Yeah, so a bit of a pitch bend on that. Trombones being very good for pitch bend stuff. Then we've got bowed cymbal, classic horror staple. This, I mean, that starts us off, and you know exactly where you are with a bit of bowed cymbal. It just says horror to me straight away. Boy solo vox, what on earth is that? Don't remember putting you in. I don't remember recording a boy solo. Okay, it's a sample, but yeah, very clearly a sample. Again, I think it's something that's somewhat buried in the mix, but it just gives us that higher register, and I think you can just kind of hear that towards the end, and it gives that, I don't know, feeling of isolation. Perhaps I'm assigning purpose to these decisions in hindsight, but there you go, it's there. I think it works. E-guitar, I think this is doubling trombone for the most part. Gives this kind of bendy note. Not my favourite sample in the world, but it just gives you that distorted guitar sound. Adding more grit, I think, is what I was after there. Now, prepared piano, another kind of horror staple, goes with the bowed cymbal. but a prepared piano, for those that don't know, it's basically when you're doing things to a piano that aren't normal, shall we say. You're often putting things in the piano against the strings to make funny sounds, or you're doing things inside the piano with your hands rather than just playing the keys, which are hammering the strings. So you'll hear that. Yeah, so kind of ambient, uneasiness, and then later we've got some hits. Yeah, so very clearly not not playing piano normally there, but you're making those sounds, and it gives you that kind of alien quality that I was after there. Then we come to some strings. Yeah, so I've got the hits doubled here with the batuto. Or at least I thought I did. No, it's not playing. There we go. Let's do some other strings then. Yeah. So here, so I've got very clustered low strings going on at this point. Tremolo strings and sustained, and it just gives this real, uneasy quality. Let's listen to that. Pitch bends on those as well. But yeah, there's something about that pitch bending in that low register. We're so used to hearing a root note that kind of solidifies whatever key we're in and makes us feel grounded. So as soon as you start pitch bending that, it gives a real sense of unease and kind of nauseousness. And I think that was important to get in there as well. Really set the mood. And then we've got final track, Fatso. Don't know why I've called it that. Let's listen. Oh, it's muted at that point. Let's go here. Well, that's kind of what I've called it, Fatso, I suppose. So again, it's that kind of rumbling tummy feeling, isn't it? And I guess if let's just hear that in combination with these low strings. It'll just have a bit more growl, like animalistic quality to that bass sound. You can just hear it there, and it'll come up as it builds now. To distort itself there at the end as well. It's good to do that. I think it's a fairly common trick to just make you feel like it's becoming broken and it's even more on edge. So there you go. I mean that's kind of it. All those layers put together. As I said before, I've done something that I don't normally do these days, which is start from scratch. I would normally start from my template, which is a largely orchestral template, and make decisions that way. But here I've very clearly kind of built up as I've gone along, made decisions without too much influence, and all based on this horror brief of just making the listener as uncomfortable as possible to really set the mood. You imagine turning the podcast on and needing the light on, that kind of that kind of feeling. So yeah, there you go. Hope you enjoyed that. As I say, I'm hoping to do other videos. Let me know if it's of interest, and yeah, certainly I'll do some of the Rusty Quill main themes by popular demand. There's quite a few of you asking for access to these themes, so let's see. And yeah, over time I'll do some more as well. So yeah, hope you enjoyed that, and see you at the next one. Bye bye.